Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and unpack exactly how a legendary football family's name ended up attached to an active arrest warrant down in North Carolina. I mean, if you follow sports, you know the name Belichick is basically synonymous with football royalty, championships, and usually a very, very tightly managed public image. So when the news broke that Jen Belichick, daughter-in-law to iconic coach Bill Belichick and wife to North Carolina defensive coordinator Steve Belichick, was the subject of an arrest order, yeah, it definitely sent some shockwaves through the sports media landscape.
You probably saw the headlines everywhere. Things like, Judge issues arrest warrant for Bill Belichick's daughter-in-law. They completely blanketed the internet and our social media feeds over the last few days. It's totally designed to grab your attention. And let's be honest, seeing the phrase arrest warrant next to your name sounds absolutely terrifying at first glance. It immediately conjures up images of flashing sirens, handcuffs, the whole shebang. But, as we all know, in the legal world, context is absolutely everything.
So I want to quickly de-escalate the drama here. We really need to separate the flashy headlines from reality. We're definitely not talking about some sort of international manhunt or a major criminal enterprise. Actually, scratch that. It's not a primetime crime thriller at all. Instead, what we're looking at is essentially a massive administrative headache. It's really just a routine traffic stop that somehow morphed into a legal mess simply because of a missed court date. Let's break down exactly how this happened.
So, what is the anatomy of a traffic stop like this? How does a normal day on the road escalate to this level?
Well, every major legal entanglement has an inciting incident, right? And for this case, it didn't start in a dramatic, wood-paneled courtroom. It started on a coastal highway on a random Tuesday in May. According to citations issued by the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, Jen Belichick was pulled over driving a Jeep at 88 miles per hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone on Interstate 140 in Brunswick County. Now, in a lot of places, going 18 miles over the limit might just result in a hefty ticket you can grumble about and pay online. But that exact number, 88, triggers a very specific and highly strict legal threshold in the state of North Carolina.
Let's look at the timeline, because it really is like a giant puzzle coming together. The stop occurred on May 21st in Leland, North Carolina. Because of her speed, she was legally mandated to appear in court on Friday, July 10th. When she didn't show up for that hearing, and the court reportedly couldn't reach her by phone, the judge issued an order for her arrest on Monday, July 13th. Just like that. And it gets worse. If left unresolved for 20 days beyond that missed appearance, the DMV gets notified to indefinitely suspend her driver's license.
Which brings us to the core issue here, North Carolina's infamously strict traffic laws.
You know, when you cross state lines, the rules of the road can drastically change. In North Carolina, they do not mess around. Unlike standard speeding tickets, hitting 88 miles per hour meant Jen was legally required to physically appear before a judge. Driving over 80 miles an hour in that state completely removes the convenience of just paying a fine online or mailing in a check. It literally demands accountability in a courtroom. It turns a simple moving violation into a mandatory appointment with the state judicial system.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that this specific law, North Carolina General Statute 15A305, turns a missed civil appearance into a mechanism for an arrest order. When the media says arrest warrant, this is what they're actually referring to. It's an administrative order issued by a judge simply because someone failed to uphold their end of the legal process by not showing up. It doesn't mean the authorities are actively organizing a manhunt to track you down, but it does mean if you get pulled over again for a broken taillight, you can absolutely be taken into custody right on the spot.
Just to give you a sense of scale and put this into perspective, over 150,000. That is the number of bench and arrest warrants North Carolina judges issue every single year, primarily for minor traffic violations or missed civil appearances, just like this one. So, this actually places Jen's case in a very common, everyday category of the legal system, even if her famous last name propelled it to national news.
But man, this entire situation perfectly illustrates why you can never, ever ignore out-of-state paperwork. The consequences just compound so rapidly. You don't just get a late fee in the mail. Ignoring the court triggers that automatic arrest order we just talked about. And even worse, the failure to appear is treated as a completely separate misdemeanor offense. You're effectively turning a traffic issue into a criminal matter. Finally, your driving privileges across North America can be suspended until the whole thing is cleared up.
Okay, so how did she handle it? Well, this leads us to the viral Instagram reaction, which is where this story gets really interesting. Usually, when a high-profile individual faces any sort of legal scrutiny, you see a super polished PR statement or just total radio silence.
Jen Belichick, however, responded in a highly unconventional and highly public way. Just hours after the news broke, she posted a cheeky caption on her Instagram story, "I hired an attorney," but it wasn't just the text. She splashed the caption over a screenshot of a New York Post article detailing her arrest warrant, while hanging out in what looked like a busy, lively bar or restaurant. Smiling friends, drinks in the background, it was an incredibly carefree vibe for someone currently wanted by a judge. And it gets better. Adding an extra layer of internet gold to this response, the Instagram story featured the song "Bad Boy for Life" playing in the background. It's such a humorous tongue-in-cheek juxtaposition, right? Choosing a legendary gangster rap anthem to address a highly administrative, traffic-related arrest warrant? It was a pretty clear signal that she wasn't exactly sweating bullets over the headlines.
Naturally, the public response on social media immediately polarized. On one hand, you had this fierce internet backlash. Commenters were criticizing her attitude, calling her entitled, and questioning if she felt she was above the law by making light of a missed court date. On the flip side, you had a strong internet defense force. People were laughing at the absurdity of the legal escalation, pointing out that it was, quote, "a speeding ticket, lol," and arguing the system should just let her pay the fine and move on with her life.
But Instagram debates aside, she still has to go about resolving this legal mess. Because the fact remains that a legal order exists and it has to be dealt with. According to a Brunswick District Court official, Jen Belichick essentially has 3 specific paths to resolve this. Option 1, voluntarily turn herself into authorities. Yeah, obviously the least desirable. Option 2, directly file a motion to the court to recall or strike the warrant. Or Option 3, hire an attorney to handle the case on her behalf. And based on that viral Instagram post we just saw, she very clearly chose option number 3.
So what's the game plan here? Well, here is the step-by-step playbook defense attorneys use to quickly quash these warrants before they become full-blown interstate nightmares. First, they file a formal motion to strike the arrest order. Next, if the judge requires it, they secure a bond to guarantee her cooperation. Then, taking advantage of modern court systems, they'll attempt to schedule a virtual hearing so she doesn't have to literally travel all the way back to the North Carolina coast. Finally, they'll negotiate to settle, pay off, or dismiss the original 88-mile-per-hour speeding charge, which neutralizes the warrant entirely.
Which brings us to the end of our analysis today. So, what do you think? Is this simply a harmless administrative traffic mix-up that just spread like wildfire because she shares a last name with a massive football dynasty? Or does skipping court and posting a playful Instagram story from a bar display a sense of entitlement? But more importantly, how would you react if a simple mistake on the highway suddenly turned you into a viral headline? It's definitely a fascinating look at how the mundane mechanisms of the law intersect with the high-speed world of celebrity culture. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.